what did you first think of when you heard of the scope and the scale of this debacle?
It's unconscionable. A company like Volkswagen with a global reputation and brand and integrity, it's just hard to believe, Tom, that they would do something like this. You know, my experience when I was at Chrysler, a couple of things. Volkswagen either decided they didn't have the technology to be compliant, one, or two, the cost to be compliant was greater than the return they would get in the United States, given the EPA regulations here versus Europe. And we don't know if they sold those engines to any other OE manufacturer, right? I mean, we looked at buying their engines when we were at Chrysler. The devastation they've created to the dealership, the value that it's lost, the credibility, the consumer complaints, it's overwhelming.
Is it fair to Mr. Winterkorn that he exits if he did not know of these details?
Well, you know, it starts at the top. And he had to, you know, Mary went through this at GM, right? You have to create the culture of compliance. If there was complicity in this thing where he had to know, Tom, I think...
You're stating he had to know.
I think he had to know that this took place. You know, it's just hard to believe someone in that position. Is one thing to make an error, is one thing to make a mistake. This was if it's true, a conscious decision to circumvent the regulations here in the U.S.
That's powerful, man.
Have you seen this in any, well, I'll step back. Enron, obviously, a criminal fraud. But in any other corporations, is it something that would be unique to a particular company, or is that the ethos these days in business to stretch the rules as far as you can?
Well, what we have here is not only on the EPA thing, Mike, but we have another major collision coming relative to the CAFE standards here in the U.S., right? I mean, if you look at what's happening today, consumers are voting with their dollars for large trucks, SUVs. Car companies love it, greater margin, totally against compliance with the new EPA or the new gasoline standards.
So you're suggesting that Mark Fields at Ford Motor will adapt and adjust as VW has?
Well, there's going to be a collision, Tom. There has to be, because they're not going to be able to meet the CAFE standards on miles per gallon. And so the regulations, you know, certainly here in the U.S. on the CAFE standards, have stressed each of the car manufacturers relative to technology to be able to get there. That's why you're seeing most of the cars go to electric controls. In other words, the old manual hydraulics. You have electric throttles, you got electric steering, you got everything to reduce the drag on the engine, to reduce the RPMs, to get better efficiency going forward. It's a major challenge.
I love a nuts and bolts surveillance with Bob Nardelli. We're talking torque.
Well, your Nash Rambler is never going to meet the emissions
standard. It won't have to. He's grandfathered in a lot of ways.
He's grandfathered in so many ways,
I've got my
Bob.
spark plug gap. Remember the spark plug gap?
Absolutely.
How come
GM little window.
Stop. We're going to rip up the script right now. This is important. How could Chrysler build a Barracuda with a distributor where you knew you were going to drop the screw in the distributor and ruin the rotation? Why did you do that?
Because we wanted to get you back to the dealers.
Thank you.
All right. Car companies are going to make electric cars. Are people going to buy electric cars? If you can only go 200 some odd miles, are they going to sell enough to bring the fuel standards up?
Well, we certainly don't see it today, do we? With prices down, right? Oil prices down, therefore gas prices down. Consumers are flocking back to the larger vehicles, and they don't see the need to buy the electric car. Now, the only thing that's going to help the CAFE standards is if the administration puts a quota. Chrysler, you can only make so many Ram trucks. You can only make so many SUVs, and force consumers to buy things they don't want, Tom.